friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a card using some Lawn Fawn sets, including Cheery Christmas, Bicycle Built for You, Our Friendship Grows, and Critters from the Past. So I've stamped out the images that I'll be using on some Neenah Solar White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I'm coloring with my Copic markers. I'm starting with my squirrels, and even though I love red squirrels, I decided that for today's color palette, gray squirrels would look a little better, so I'm using my warm grays. I'm using W00, W1, W3, and W5. And for the male, I'm going to use W5 as my darkest, so I laid in my shadows with that, and then I'm blending out with the W3. I'm going to fill in most of what remains with the W1, just leave a little bit of space on his face and the top of his tail and his tummy for that W00. And I'm going to let a little bit of the white still show on his belly. The female, I'm going to color just a little bit lighter to differentiate the two. So I took away the W5 and I'm laying in the shadows with the W3. I'm doing a central light source. That means that the shadows will be along the backs of the animals and the highlight will be on their face. And I'm leaving a little bit of white space on her belly as well to keep it nice and soft. Next, I'm going to color the little French baguette, and for that I'm using E51, E53, and E55. I just put the shadow down at the bottom, and then I use the mid-tone to pull that up and also accentuate those little cut lines, and then filled in with the E51. For the cheese, I'm using Y11, Y13, and Y15. So I'm going to color from the bottom up as well and also add a little bit of darkness to the top portion, and I filled in the holes with the Y15 as well. For the wine bottle, I'm using YG61, YG63, and YG67, coloring it exactly the same as the other pieces with the shadow at the bottom and the highlight on the top. And then I brought back in the E53 for the cork. And then I'm moving on to the palm tree. I'm going to do the trunk first with E41, E47, and E49. I'm going to do my shadows right on the lines that are drawn there by the artist to make, those little grooves a little bit darker. And then I'll come in with my mid-tone, the E47, and just kind of color over that on both sides. So the lightest portion is going to be the centers of those little triangular pieces. So I'll just go over the entire thing. I'm just going to color right over all of the darkened midtones, just filling that in with that E44. For the top of the palm tree, I'm going to use some different greens because I want to differentiate it since this is a living object. And, the glass bottle is an inanimate object. I want to use some different shades to kind of separate those on the scene. So I'm using G21, G24, and G28. I'm putting my darkest colors right in the center where the palm fronds meet, and then blending toward the tips with the lighter shades. There's not a ton of difference between the G21 and the G24, so I felt like it just needed a little bit more contrast, so I went back in with that G28 and then a little of that G24 as well to pull that into the rest. And then for my pot, I decided to go with a terracotta color. I do have to tip my paper to be able to color this correctly. I'm using E93, E95, and E97, and this does make a really nice terracotta color, this combination. I think there's also an E99, so if you wanted it to be a little bit darker, you could add in that marker tone. I don't have it, so I'm making do with what I have, but I am going to go over with a double layer just to make it a little bit more dynamic and give it a little bit more of that contrast. So I'm doing some shading from both sides to keep it nice and round, but just a little bit more on the right since it's going to be on the right hand side of the card. And then for the tiny flower, I'm using RV25 and RV29, just using the darkest in the center and then blending out towards the edges of the petals. And I went back in with the darkest to add a little bit more and then trim these out with the matching dies. For my focal panel, I'm using the stitch scalloped rectangle frames, and I'm going to set aside the frame for now. And for the inside, I'm going to use a Zig Clean Color Real Brush pen in the color 042 Turquoise Green to add just a little bit of color to the background. Now I am using regular Nina Solar White here, so the color does not move around very well. So I just made sure to really water it down and use it very splotchily. And then I also did a little bit of splatter detail. And then I'm just going to turn that over and tape the frame back into place with some just Scotch tape so it's completely clear. And that way I can use the frame and the panel as one unit and pop that up with foam tape on my card later on. So once I have that done, I'm going to pop this into my MISTI and stamp my sentiment. And this is from the Reveal Wheel Friends and Family Sentiments. And I'm using the one that says, I really like you. So then I can pop that out and I grab my card base so I can stamp on the inside. And there is that stamp set that I used. I'm stamping in Merman ink on the inside. So this is a combination of images from Cheery Christmas and sentiments from that Reveal Wheel Friends and Family set. And it says, I'm glad I'm your one true love. And I know this is going up after Valentine's Day, so I didn't include it in my Valentine card series this year, but this was actually my Valentine card to my husband. It would also make a great anniversary card. So I decided that I needed a little something extra. I wanted to add some twinkly lights to the pine tree. When I was stamping out those squirrels again from the inside, I saw that image and I was like, oh, that would be perfect wrapped around the palm tree's trunk. So that's what I did. And I just colored it with the lightest two yellows that I used earlier. It was the Y11 and Y13. And I'm going to pop this palm tree into the terracotta pot. So it's going to be a potted palm. And my concept for this card was I was thinking like, what if the squirrels decided that they wanted to go on a date, and so they're going someplace different than the usual oak tree or whatever tree that they live on, and they are decided to have like a more tropical date in this little potted palm. So I added the little ladder from Cheery Christmas, which I also stamped in the Merman ink, and that is how they're getting up to their little palm tree there. And then I'm going to add their little snack down at the base of the pot so they can have that later on. I thought about adding the flower to the squirrel's ear, but it was just too big. It would have covered up both of her ears. So I decided to add it instead down near the little snacks. I just added a little piece of foam tape to the back of that as well, so it would be on the same level as all the rest of the images. The pattern papers that I'm using are from the Spring Fling collection, and I've chosen two pieces, and I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of them. I trimmed them down to be slightly smaller than the card front, and then I'm just adding them so that they're slightly askew from each other so that you see both prints kind of overlapping. So this card is for our current Lawn Fanatics challenge, which is Bring It Back. And we're challenging ourselves to use a supply that we haven't used on a card in a while. So I chose to use this lawn trimmings. I absolutely still love these twines. I think they're so pretty, but I have not used them in a card in quite a while. I can't even remember the last card I used them on. So I'm bringing it back. I'm putting this on my card today. I think that little bow adds a nice sweet touch. And it's perfect for, you know, a little romantic card. It's not too in your face. It's just a nice little detail that also gives you something tactile on the card, you know, something to touch. So I just slid that over a little bit, added some more foam tape to the back of the panel and pressed that down into place. And then of course I had to make my twinkly lights twinkle. So I added some crystal stickles to the light bulbs and also a little bit to the glass wine bottle. And that is going to complete my card for today. There is another peek at the inside. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I just had a fun time with this one. I thought the story was really cute. So being a writer, sometimes I just can't help myself. If you enjoyed the video today, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, you can hit that notification bell to make sure that my videos always end up in your feed. If you'd like to keep on watching, here are 2 extra videos I thought you might also be interested in, so you can click on either one of those to check them out. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.